Nestled deep in the woods of Willow Creek, Camp Echo Pines had long been a summer retreat for children seeking adventure and connection with nature. But for the townsfolk, it was a place steeped in mystery and whispered legends. They spoke of strange occurrences, lost campers, and the shadow of a tragedy that hung over the camp like a thick fog. In the summer of 1998, a group of friends, Megan, Alex, Jake, and Lucy, were excited to spend their final summer before college at Camp Echo Pines. They arrived on a sunny day, greeted by the camp director, Mr. Reynolds, who wore a permanent frown. He briefly mentioned that some areas of the camp were off limits due to safety concerns, but the friends shrugged it off, eager for adventure. As they settled into their cabin, the group discovered an old, dust-covered diary hidden beneath a loose floorboard. It belonged to a girl named Clara, a camper who had disappeared the previous summer under mysterious circumstances. The last entries spoke of eerie noises at night, a shadowy figure in the woods, and a growing sense of dread. The friends exchanged nervous glances, but their curiosity piqued, and they decided to investigate the camp's dark corners. That night, around the campfire, they shared stories. An older counselor, Greg, joined them, and when asked about Clara, he grew silent. After a long pause, he said, "Some say she still roams these woods, searching for her friends." He dismissed it as a campfire tale, but the unease settled in. Later, Megan suggested they explore the areas marked off limits. "What's the worst that could happen?" she teased, her bravado masking her apprehension. The others agreed, and as the mood rose high, they snuck out, flashlights in hand. They wandered into the woods, feeling the crunch of twigs underfoot. After a while, they stumbled upon an old cabin, overgrown with vines and hidden from view. Its door creaked ominously as they pushed it open. Inside, they found remnants of what looked like a living space, faded photographs, broken furniture, and a chilling atmosphere. On a dusty table lay a wooden box, intricately carved with symbols. Curiosity got the better of them, and they opened it, revealing a collection of old trinkets and a locket. Inside the locket was a picture of Clara. Suddenly, they heard a rustling outside. The group froze, straining to listen. Footsteps echoed around the cabin, and they exchanged terrified glances. "We should go," Alex whispered. They quietly retreated, but as they stepped outside, the world felt different, thicker, more oppressive. They hurried back to the cabin, but upon arrival, they found the front door ajar and the lights flickering. "Did someone come in?" Lucy asked, her voice trembling. They stepped inside cautiously, but everything seemed untouched. They breathed a collective sigh of relief. But when they tried to sleep, the shadows in the corners seemed to grow, and the whispers of the woods filled their minds with dread. That night, Megan was jolted awake by the sound of soft crying outside their window. She crept to the edge of her bed and peeked out. There, illuminated by the moonlight, stood a girl, a pale figure in a white dress, tears streaming down her face. Megan gasped and turned to wake the others, but when she looked back, the girl was gone. In the morning, Megan recounted her encounter, but Jake laughed it off. "You are dreaming," he said. But as the day wore on, the atmosphere grew heavier. Each friend experienced unsettling moments, strange noises, fleeting shadows, and feelings of being watched. They decided to dig deeper into Clara's story. That afternoon, they ventured into town to speak with the locals. The diner's owner, a weathered woman named Agnes, eyed them with concern. "You kids shouldn't be out there at night," she warned. Clara was a sweet girl, but she got lost. And some say she never found her way back. They say she's still searching for help. That night, they resolved to return to the old cabin. As they trekked through the woods, the atmosphere grew denser, and the whispers returned, echoing their fears. When they reached the cabin, the door swung open as if inviting them in. Inside, they found the box still on the table, but now the trinkets had shifted, as if someone had been rummaging through them. The locket lay open, revealing a second photograph of Megan. "What the hell?" she gasped, stepping back. Then, without warning, the door slammed shut. The windows rattled as the wind howled, and the friends felt a sudden chill. The air became electric, charged with an unseen presence. "We need to leave," Lucy screamed, but the door wouldn't budge. Panic surged as shadows twisted in the corners of the room. They heard Clara's voice, soft and desperate, calling for help. "Please, help me." The friends were paralyzed by fear, but Megan, driven by an overwhelming urge to help, stepped forward. "Clara, we're here for you." As she spoke, the shadows coalesced into a figure girl, her face pale and sunken, eyes filled with sorrow. "You can't leave," Clara whispered. "You have to help me find my friends." Megan felt a wave of compassion, but the others were terrified. "No, we have to go," Jake shouted. "She's not right." Suddenly, the room spun, and the shadows surged forward, engulfing them. The friends screamed, but their voices were drowned out by Clara's cries. As the darkness closed in, they felt a suffocating weight pressing down on them, pulling them deeper into the void. In the chaos, the friends instinctively grabbed each other's hands. "We can't let go," Alex shouted, his voice strained. They struggled against the dark force, determined not to be lost like Clara. With a final surge of energy, they pulled together, breaking free from the shadows. The cabin walls shuddered, and the door burst open, flinging them into the night. They tumbled outside, gasping for air, the cool breeze washing over them. As they ran back to camp, the whispers faded behind them, replaced by the sound of their pounding hearts. They reached their cabin and locked the door, collapsing on the floor. It felt like a nightmare, but the cold sweat on their skin reminded them it was real. The next morning, shaken and exhausted, they packed their belongings. They had decided to leave Camp Echo Pines, unwilling to risk another night. As they walked to the camp office to inform Mr. Reynolds, they noticed the sky darkening ominously. Suddenly, a storm rolled in, and the wind howled through the trees. The friends hurried, but as they approached the office, they spotted something horrifying. A group of campers gathered around the old boathouse, seemingly entranced. Clara's voice echoed in their minds. "Help me, Megan," Jake yelled, pointing. "They're going to go inside." Without thinking, they sprinted toward the boathouse. The campers, entranced, began to move toward the door. "No, stop," Lucy screamed, but it was too late. The door creaked open, and a dark figure loomed inside, calling to them. Megan felt a surge of determination. "We have to save them." She rushed forward, grabbing the nearest camper, pulling them back. The others joined in, breaking the spell of the darkness. As they struggled, Clara's figure appeared again, more menacing than before. "You can't leave me," she wailed, but the friends didn't relent. They pulled the campers back, dragging them away from the boathouse as the storm intensified. With one last surge of strength, they broke the connection, and Clara's figure dissipated into the shadows. The campers snapped out of their trance, confusion and fear in their eyes. Breathless, Megan and her friends rallied the group and fled toward the camp entrance, hearts pounding. They ran until they reached the road, collapsing on the gravel as the storm raged around them. The sounds of the camp faded into the distance. As they sat there, the rain pouring down, Megan realized they had escaped but could never truly forget. The haunting of Camp Echo Pines would linger in their memories, a reminder of the darkness that could lie in even the most cherished places. Years later, as they gathered to reminisce about their summer adventures, the story of Clara would always resurface, a warning to future campers. And every so often, they would hear a soft whisper carried on the wind, echoing through the trees, searching for a way home. Camp Silver Lake was a place of laughter and sunshine, where children spent their summers swimming, hiking, and making lifelong memories. But for the locals in the nearby town of Pinesworth, it was also a place shrouded in mystery and whispers of a dark past. In the summer of 2003, a group of friends, Emily, Mark, Sarah, and Ben, were thrilled to be spending their last summer before college at Camp Silver Lake. They had heard the camp's reputation, but they brushed aside the stories about the curse that surrounded it. As the bus pulled up to the camp, they were greeted by cheerful counselors and the sight of shimmering water framed by tall pines. It felt like paradise. The first few days were filled with classic camp activities: canoeing, archery, and campfire songs. But as night fell, the camp took on a different atmosphere. The woods seemed to breathe, and the laughter of their fellow campers faded into the background. One night, while sitting around the campfire, an older counselor named Greg shared the legend of Camp Silver Lake. He spoke of a girl named Anna who had gone missing decades ago. She was last seen near a secluded part of the lake, where strange lights were said to flicker at night. "Some say she still wanders these woods, looking for her friends," Greg said, his voice low and serious. Emily and her friends exchanged nervous glances but dismissed the tale as just another ghost story. That night, as they lay in their cabin, the wind howled outside, and shadows danced on the walls. Sleep came uneasily, filled with strange dreams and distant whispers. On the fourth night, Sarah suggested they investigate the area near the lake. "Let's see if we can find those lights," she said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Mark and Ben were hesitant, but Emily was intrigued. "It'll be fun. What's the worst that could happen?" They agreed to meet at midnight. Under the cover of darkness, the friends crept out of their cabin, flashlights in hand. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting an eerie glow on the path to the lake. As they walked, the sounds of the night enveloped them, crickets chirping, leaves rustling, and an occasional distant hoot of an owl. When they reached the edge of the lake, they were struck by its beauty. The water shimmered under the moonlight, but the air felt charged, as if something was waiting just beneath the surface. They turned their flashlights toward the water, hoping to catch a glimpse of the rumored lights. Minutes passed in silence, and just as they were about to give up, they saw a flicker of blue light dancing at the far end of the lake. "There," Ben exclaimed, pointing. "Do you see that?" They exchanged excited glances, adrenaline coursing through them. With a mix of fear and excitement, they decided to row out in one of the camp's canoes. "We'll just go for a quick look," Emily said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. They paddled toward the light, laughter mingling with the soft lapping of water against the canoe. But as they approached, the light seemed to flicker and fade, drawing them deeper into the lake. The atmosphere shifted, a heaviness settling around them. Suddenly, the light vanished, plunging them into darkness. A cold wind whipped across the water, and the once calm lake became choppy. "What's happening?" Sarah yelled, fear creeping into her voice. Then, without warning, a loud splash echoed through the night, and the canoe rocked violently. Emily gripped the sides, her heart pounding. "What was that?" she shouted. In the chaos, Ben leaned over to look into the water. "I don't see anything." But as he did, a dark shape emerged beneath the surface, a figure, pale and ghostly, reaching up toward him. Screaming, the friends scrambled to row back to shore, panic taking over. The water churned violently as they paddled, and the figure seemed to rise behind them, a haunting visage with hollow eyes and an expression of despair. Just as they reached the shore, the canoe tipped, and they tumbled into the water, gasping for breath. They scrambled onto the bank, drenched and terrified, but when they looked back, the figure was gone. Breathless, they stumbled back toward the camp, hearts racing. "Did you see that?" Mark gasped. "What was that?" They rushed into their cabin, locking the door behind them. The weight of what had just happened hung in the air. They huddled together, sharing their fears and doubts. "It has to be the curse," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "Anna, she must be looking for something." As dawn broke, the friends made a pact to uncover the truth. They knew they couldn't leave without understanding what happened to Anna. After breakfast, they approached Greg, hoping he would provide more information. He hesitated, eyeing them with concern. "Many campers have gone missing over the years," he said slowly. "Some believe Anna's spirit is still searching for her friends, luring people into the lake." Determined, they decided to investigate the old boathouse, rumored to be where Anna was last seen. When they arrived, the structure looked abandoned, its wood weathered and cracked. Inside, they found old photographs and remnants of past summers, but the atmosphere was thick with an unsettling presence. In a corner, they discovered a tattered journal belonging to Anna. The entries detailed her life at the camp, but the final pages were filled with frantic scribbles about the lights at the lake and her growing fear. "I see her at night," one entry read. "She wants me to join her." The friends felt a chill as they realized the gravity of the situation. "We have to find out what happened to her," Emily said, resolute. They spent the day searching for more clues, determined to piece together Anna's story. That evening, they returned to the lake, hoping to find answers. As twilight fell, the air turned still, and a sense of foreboding washed over them. They took a moment to gather their courage before paddling out again. The lake was eerily quiet, the water reflecting the deepening shades of dusk. They reached the spot where they had seen the light before. As they sat in silence, the flickering blue light reappeared in the distance. "Do you see it?" Ben whispered, eyes wide. They felt an inexplicable pull toward it, but fear gripped them. "We can't go back," Mark protested. But Emily, driven by curiosity, insisted, "We need to know." They paddled toward the light, adrenaline surging through their veins. The closer they got, the more the air around them crackled with energy. Suddenly, The water began to bubble violently, and the figure of a girl emerged once more, but this time she looked more solid, more real. It was Anna, her face twisted in anguish. "Help me," she cried, her voice echoing across the water. Panicking, the friends looked at each other, torn between the urge to help and the instinct to flee. "She's trapped," Sarah yelled, tears streaming down her face. "We can't leave her. Are you crazy?" Mark shouted back, fear overpowering reason. But Emily was already leaning forward, her heart aching for the lost girl. "Anna, what do you need?" she called out. The spirit pointed toward the depths of the lake. "I can't find them. I can't leave," she sobbed. The waters began to swirl violently, and the canoe rocked precariously. "Pull her out." Sarah screamed, but the darkness beneath the surface seemed to pull back, resisting their efforts. "We need to dive," Emily shouted. Without waiting for a response, she plunged into the icy water. The cold enveloped her, and she swam deeper, searching for Anna's friends. She felt the pull of something dark beneath, but she pressed on, her lungs burning. Finally, she saw them, three shadowy figures tangled in weeds, faces frozen in fear. Grabbing hold, she struggled to pull them free. As she fought against the darkness, she felt a surge of strength coursing through her. With one final heave, she broke the surface, dragging the figures up with her. As she emerged, the canoe was gone, and her friends were nowhere in sight. "Help!" she screamed, panic rising in her chest. The water was eerily calm now, and Anna's figure appeared beside her, looking more desperate than ever. "You have to help them," she cried. Emily looked around, her heart racing. Just as she was about to give in to despair, she felt a hand clasp her wrist. It was Sarah, emerging from the depths, gasping for air. "Emily," she cried, "we have to go back for the others." The water rippled ominously, and Anna's face twisted in anguish. "You can't leave me," she wailed. Emily felt a powerful pull, a dark energy trying to drag them down. "Fight it," Sarah shouted. "We can't let her take us." With all her strength, Emily swam toward the shore, pulling Sarah behind her. The weight of the water pressed down, but they fought against it, determined to reach safety. As they neared the bank, they saw Mark and Ben emerge from the shadows of the water, clawing their way to the surface. "Get out," Mark yelled, his voice hoarse. "Don't look back." They scrambled onto the shore, collapsing in a heap, gasping for breath. But Anna's wails echoed in their minds. "Help me." They turned back to the lake, but the figure was gone. The water lay still, reflecting the moonlight as if nothing had happened. Heart racing, they looked at each other, disbelief in their eyes. "We have to leave," Emily gasped, her voice trembling. They ran back to the camp, adrenaline driving them forward. The laughter and music of camp life felt hollow now, tainted by their experience. The next morning, they gathered their things, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. As they packed, they noticed a flicker of blue light in the distance, lingering at the edge of the lake. "Not again," Sarah whispered, dread creeping in. Ignoring the light, they hurried to the camp office. Mr. Reynolds looked concerned as they recounted their story. "You shouldn't have gone near the lake," he said gravely. "The legend is real, and Anna's spirit is tied to this place." Determined to escape, they left the campgrounds and headed back to Pinesworth. But even as they drove away, they felt a presence lingering in the air, a haunting reminder of the girl they had encountered. Years later, they would reunite and share stories of their summer at Camp Silver Lake, but the laughter would always be tinged with unease. They would tell their children about the camp, warning them of the legend of Anna, the girl who still searched for her friends. And on certain nights, when the moon was high and the lake was calm, they could still see the flicker of blue light dancing at the edge of the water, a haunting reminder of the girl lost to the darkness, forever searching for a way home. At Camp Whispering Pines, the last night of summer was always marked by a grand campfire. As the flames flickered, campers shared ghost stories, laughter echoing through the trees. But this year, the mood was different. A heavy silence lingered, fueled by an unsolved mystery. A camper named Alex had gone missing earlier that summer, and though the search parties had returned empty-handed, the legend of the Whispering Woods grew. They said if you ventured too deep into the forest at night, you might hear Alex calling for help. As the fire crackled, Jenna, Alex's close friend, felt an unsettling urge to speak. "What if he's still out there?" she whispered. The group fell silent, the cheerful atmosphere replaced by an uncomfortable tension. Later that night, as the campers headed to their cabins, Jenna lingered behind. She thought she heard a faint sound in the woods. "Jenna, help me." It was Alex's voice. Heart racing, she stepped into the darkness, following the call. The trees loomed, shadows wrapping around her like icy hands. "Alex," she called out, desperation creeping in. "Jenna, I'm over here." The voice was closer now, pleading. Guided by the sound, she stumbled into a clearing, the moonlight revealing a figure just beyond the trees. "Alex," she shouted, relief washing over her. But as she stepped forward, the figure melted away, revealing nothing but darkness. Panic surged. "Alex, where are you?" The whisper returned, more insistent. "Jenna, come closer." Realizing the danger, Jenna turned to run, but the forest seemed to close in around her. The whispers grew louder, drowning out her thoughts, a cacophony of voices urging her to stay. "Help me, I can't leave." With every ounce of strength, Jenna broke free from the grasping shadows and sprinted back to camp, her heart pounding. She burst into the cabin, breathless, waking her friends. "He's out there. We have to do something." But as the sun rose, she learned the truth. Alex wasn't coming back. The search had ended, and whispers of the woods faded into silence. Years later, Jenna returned to Whispering Pines, hoping to confront her fear. She stood by the campfire, sharing stories, but she could never shake the feeling of being watched. And on certain nights, when the wind howled just right, she could still hear Alex's voice calling to her from the depths of the woods. "Jenna, help me." All right, everyone, that brings us to the end of our story. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And if you have similar stories you'd like to share with us, feel free to reach out. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.